Here I have the Priority Current Ebike over here. This is a Priority 680X. The e-bike, I just finished swapping the rear cog for a 22 teeth to a 24 teeth a few days ago. And I finally got it aligned. It was aligned properly, the hub interface arm. I just wanted to double check that. So Priority was working with me and we got that verified. So we're good to go. So about 2-3 weeks ago, Priority, Eddie there at Priority Bicycles, said I can update the firmware to the motor and probably improve the torque that I can use on the hills. I was trying to go on hills. Well, I've used it on hills, but it's a little bit hard pedaling still. And of course I get out of breath on hills anyway, but the gear inches isn't very low on the e-bike. It measures about 34 inches, just under 34 inches. So the rear cog should have brought it down closer to 30 inches, but he said there's a torque limit that limits out the motor anything under 8 miles per hour. So he said, go ahead and update the firmware. So for $10 delivery shipment, I went ahead and paid $10, and he sent me this dongle cable, which connects to the e-bike. The cable going, I suppose, down to the motor. I had to disconnect the cable that was connected to the display up here. And anyways, it's connected now, and it looks like it goes down to the motor area. And I guess that's where the computer part is that controls the limit of how much torque is output by the motor. So I'm sure they want to be safe and not ruin the Enviolo rear hub, the internal hub. And I seem to like it. You can actually go down to about 28 gear inches on that. It's not super low for climbing, but it's a little bit lower. So anyways, between getting it close to 30 inches gear inches and after updating the firmware to allow a little bit more torque to the motor, I think it'll be better improved for hill climbing. It still won't be super great, I don't think, but it'll be better, I believe. Now, he did say it could be little jerky movements, not as smooth by changing the firmware, increasing the torque. So I guess I'll just have to see. So that's the whole aim, is to improve the hill performance on this Priority Current, that's the model name, Current e-bike. It's a 500 watt battery, 504 watts. I think it's a Bafang 500 watt. It is a Bafang, I believe. But it is definitely a 500 watt motor mid-drive that supplies power to the motor and runs a Gates belt drive, carbon belt drive to the rear. The belt itself, because it's an Enviolo rear hub, it's the number 125T item number for the belt. Now, by putting the 24 teeth rear cog on, it moved the wheel slightly forward, closer to the fender. And I'll flip around here just a second. But the fender down below, it's a little bit closer, and there's a couple of tubes running underneath the fender back to power the rear light on the fender itself. That's what is stock for the Priority Current e-bike. So let me get up here and go ahead and get a closer view. So anyways, the laptop's hooked up, about ready to update the firmware. I think right now it's running on Program B as a stock firmware, and this one will update it as a .el. So I'm not sure what EL stands for. So anyways, we're going to update the firmware. That's the whole process here. So this is the dongle that was sent. I had to do a $50 deposit, and I'll get that back just for security to until I send this back, plus a $10 shipping. But here it is. It's connected to the cable. I had to disconnect the cable from up here, which goes to the display. So it's the male prongs on this end to the female prongs or female end on their dongle. So anyways, this is Priority Bicycle's dongle cable that they sent me. What else can I say? Down here, this is the Enviolo hub that I was working on the past few days. I changed the number teeth to from a 22 to a 24 teeth. So that slightly improves the gear measurements, gear inches, by about almost 3 gear inches, dropping it down to about 30, 31. Like I say, it's not a huge improvement, about 3% or about 10% improvement. But my hope is after this firmware update, it'll be better on the hills. So what else can I show you? Nothing related to today's firmware update, but here's more pictures if you want to see them of the Current Ebike. Of course, it's got disc brakes. Added a frame bag. This is a medium-sized frame for me. It still feels a little bit crunched up, so maybe a large would have been better. I think between the small, medium, large, it pushes about 1 inch between small to medium, and then another inch medium to large size frame back. Now I did swap the saddle, and this is a B67 Brooks saddle. It's wider, leather. This one is like pre-treated leather. I have the B67 on my Surly Disc trucker, and I like it. It feels comfortable. I still wear padded shorts, and I use the chamois cream, the butt butter thing. That certainly helps with some sores. But mostly, you just got to ride to get used to it. But the butt butter between the padded shorts, it definitely helps. Here is the handlebar where I added the mirrors, added a bell, added this riser thing. I swapped over some things from here over to the ADX, the 600 ADX. So I don't have quite enough things to just keep on here yet. I just continually swapping the feed bags, the handlebar bag, and of course the lights go back and forth. Here's my light measurement. I use a Metro 1100 light. Here's the shifter. This one's a variable shifter. It's not like click, 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 get 5 or 6 positions. It's variable. All the way up is easy, and all the way down, rotated, is hard to access the higher gears. Actually, it's a planetary rear drive system, internal hub rather, not a drive, because it's a motor in the middle. But anyways, so easy and hard all the way down, but it's variable. But you do have to be moving, pedaling, not necessarily pedaling, but you got to be moving. The wheel has to be moving to, I guess, actuate the planetary balls inside the internal hub to fully access the full range. It's 380% range, so it's still kind of low. It's good for a city bike and all-around purpose bike, but it won't access the full 500% or 600% like a touring bike. So that's probably enough for the Current Ebike. I did add my own flag holders. This one just holds like a flag pole that's about 2 or 3 feet long. It collapses. And I put another one on here too. I put a 4-foot snow pole on there, and it holds my hanger for shirts to dry them while I'm riding, and I can also attach an empty water jug on top of it. So anyways, here is the ADX, the 600 ADX from Priority. It's the newer version of the 600X. It's got the gear box up front, and this is the 12-speed C12 from Pinion, and that one is pretty good. So far, I like it. You do have to momentarily stop pedaling to shift the gears, but that's the only thing I've noticed, and I'm sort of getting used to that now, just for a split second. And of course, it also has the Gates drive belt on there. Don't remember what the cog numbers teeth are, but it gets down to about 15 gear inches and up to like 96 or 98. So it's got plenty low gears measurements to climb hills. So whereas this one's like 15, the e-bike is around 30. So like the lowest easy gear would be like the 5th or 6th position in the 680X, like in the middle. So that's giving you an idea of what the range is. I also have an identical a B67 seat over here. Just have the cover on it on this one. Being leather, you have to keep it dry. I've got a chair on the back. I went and put a tubeless rear rack on each of the bikes. Both of them are tubeless. This one, I forget which model it is. Anyways, this one doesn't have the lower bar, whereas this one does, to hang panniers. But because this one's down here like that, this one's just a little bit narrower on top, but I haven't noticed it being too narrow for what I want to put on there. So, and here is the front handlebar setup. I have 2 feed bags, and so far I've been swapping them between the 2 bikes. And I can put anything in here, 16 or 20 ounce bottles or Cokes. I can actually fit a 30 ounce tumbler, insulated tumbler now. I've got a Yeti and I've got an Ozark Trail I'm trying. That's kind of new to me. Put a cheap bag on here to hold like a wallet or something like that in there. I will eventually be getting a frame bag. I don't have that yet. And I do want to put, can't see it here yet, but I want to put a front rack on here, and I'll be getting an Old Man Mountain rack for the front, and it'll take a special through axle, 12 millimeter through axle, and it'll actually connect there, and it'll have little disc pucks that I can zip tie to the front fork. Now it's a suspension fork, so it's very limited on type of front rack I could put on there, but from what I've researched, the Old Man Mountain brand Divide rack is what I'm going to use. So in addition, I went ahead and put 2 mirrors on here. I put a little riser bar thing on here. It'll hold my light. Got a cheap compass. That's come in handy a couple times. And also put a little $6 or $7 cup holder. And it holds a medium-sized McDonald's cup pretty well. If I've got a cup in there, I can put any other kind of cup in there, like a Chick-fil-A cup or something. So that's about it. Of course, it's a 12 position twist shifter. And on here, I'll actually slide my microfiber towel along one on there, and it'll flip up here so I can, use it on here to get grip if it's really sweaty or wet out. So that's about it, I think. Let's see, rear light, of course. I extended the rear light. The panniers, like the large panniers I use, they come out to about here, and they sort of shielded the actual stock light, the added light that will go onto the rear rack. So I pushed this light out further, added these on. They just slip off, just for visibility more than anything. But also when I come into the house, don't have it on this one, you got it on the front, but on this front I have it on here, and it'll hit the woodwork first and not scrape anything up too, but mostly for visibility. And when I have my flagpole on, I've got a pull noodle on it too. I can actually exchange. I can pull this one off and put the longer pull noodle on if I want to. So anyways, back to the firmware. We'll be updating that here just momentarily. And here we are. All right, thanks a lot for listening if you made it this far.